Welcome everybody to another episode of the Key to Games podcast, here on Game Wisdom, where we some of the art and science of games. I am Josh Blaser, and joining me my co-host from Casual Game Studios, Joshua Reyes. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. The weather's actually pretty nice. It's just been a very bug week in the game dev world. Other than that, I'm doing pretty good. Josh, has the smoke subsided on your side? Because I have an interesting story about this.
It seems to have gone away. Now we're just dealing with thunder and rain.
Okay, it's just been replaced with thunder and rain. Funny story just before we go. So last week when the smoke was going, we happened to have like a really high pollen count. It was like off the charts or whatever. So I'm going to run errands and I'm like, wow, this pollen is really thick. Well, I found out later that, I was like taking a bite out of it. I was like, oh, wow, I've never tasted pollen like this before. And then I found out later that it was actually the smoke drifting all the way down. So I was driving and running errands and just inhaling all that smoke. And I thought it was pollen. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a very nasty time for sure. And speaking about nasty times, I think that's a good segue into our topic.
I think it fits perfectly, right?
Mm-hmm. So for this week's show, we're going to be talking about the role social media has played when it comes to being a game developer, covering games, and kind of what is like, how does it feel, I suppose, right now. The thumbnail I once again chose having the existential crisis from Darkest Dungeon, which fits, I think, really well. And this week, I get to be a part of it instead of just sitting on the sidelines. So, for those of you who are somehow not aware of what is happening, we've gone in a span of not even a year from people hoping, well, Twitter can't get any worse with Elon Musk buying it, to okay, he made it worse, but surely it has to stop. There has to be like a floor to the horribleness. To, well, it keeps going. To, I guess, are we like near the Earth's core right now in terms of like how far we've gone down?
Definitely so. And what is even worse is that it's like permeating, right, to like all aspects of social media, right? So like even like with Reddit and like the issues going on with Reddit, which we'll discuss later. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like, I think maybe around like COVID, right, is when, or can we say that during that time, it seemed like it was probably at its height, like of like people engaging, and it was working right. And that was basically it. But it ended pretty soon, and then like all the measures and everything took over. Josh, what is like your experience been like on Twitter overall? Like, I'd like to garner some like how it's been with you and with these changes so far.
It has been, I think, pretty bad. The problem I think a lot of people have with like noticing like what's going on with Twitter is that for like the people who were already like recognizable in the space, nothing really, I think, shifted for them. If you're already popular on the algorithm, you're going to stay popular. That's kind of how it works. But for all kind of like the lower to middle tier people, it's gotten a lot harder. And I made this prediction like 5 months ago when one of my tweets finally went viral about getting Indiedev support, Indiedev interest, that this would be what kills Twitter. And apparently my prediction came true. It has been horrible lately in terms of reach on my tweets, in terms of people finding them, and even some of the changes with now that if someone's not in if you're not already following them, you show up in their kind of spam folder in terms of messages. You can't even send messages easily anymore. So now every day I check my spam folders to make sure that any dev hasn't sent me something. And it's just like such a self-inflicted wound in terms of social media. And I guess for you as a developer in this quagmire, how's it been for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably echo the same thing, like echo the same sentiments. It's been very difficult, right? Like one thing that I had is like, I mean, you're a content creator too, right? And so like as a game dev, you're not really like creating, you have to just like kind of decide how the content you're going to create and what you're going to create, right? It's like, okay, am I going to create like tutorials? And then if I create a bunch of tutorial like quick threads, well, then I end up just getting indie game dev followers, right? And then I kind of just developers, and then it just becomes kind of the echo chamber, right? And you never really bust out of that. So like eventually, like I did amass, like I think, I don't know, before I kind of like really just left Twitter. I mean, occasionally I look at it, but I don't really engage in it since its demise because the algorithm is so draconian, and especially like against indie devs, right? Like, I mean, I think at my max, maybe I had like 3,000 followers, right? And like that is not like anything to like really break through, right? Like now with the current changes, if I posted anything, again, it's crickets, right? And so like dealing with it has been very hard. Like either you really like have to like go to the dark side, right? You go to the dark side and go complete like, what does the algorithm want? Bow down to the algorithm and follow it exactly, which is really hard for a lot of game developers to do, and a lot of content creators, unless you put your morals aside, right? And you're like, I don't feel that at all. I need the clicks, right? And if you don't, then you're just pretty much left unseen. And like you said, it is a self-inflicted wound. Like you constantly keep creating and feeding into it and hoping it'll work and hoping it will lead to some visibility. But in the end, like there's some other issues like that. Maybe a lot of the engagement you were getting was really like AI generated or faked, or you weren't even sure, right? Like that's a whole other like world that we're talking about. But yeah, it has definitely been brutal. And then just a side note, I know I'm going on, but like each one individually requires its own attention and its own curation, right? So like, for example, if you do a post on Twitter, like your Reddit post would need to be different, right? Like you can't just take that Twitter and then copy and paste it and put it in Reddit. People are like, what are you doing? And downvote you. Like, so it's like each one has to be curated. If you did, for example, TikTok, or if you did, for example, for example, and that if we get into it, I think that is part of the demise of social media in a way. But like if you get into any of those ones, it does demand complete different curation for each. So it is very brutal. It's a massive overload, and then even to get traction is like nearly nigh impossible. And I'm sure anybody watching would definitely confirm the same thing.
And as you said, it's such a it can be so annoying to do, and it's why again that there is good money in people who are versed in social media, who are great at being able to do this on a day-to-day basis. But the problem that we're kind of running into is, as you just said, that every place is its own little personal echo chamber. So you can't it's not as simple as just posting one thing, copy paste, and lo and behold, you're done. It is a constant cycle of engagement. And the advantage that Twitter had for, again, like it feels like for some people it could have been like their entire lives up until right now, has been that it was the biggest. And you had that advantage of trying to reach as many people as you can. But as we've seen over the last year, it has become more and more broken in terms of what its reach can do. Whether it's, bot spammers, people posting very disturbing things, and, stuff that will probably get me demonetized here on YouTube. And of course, the fact that it's an idea that if I post something, if I don't spend money, it's not going to get upvoted. If I do post something, then there's a chance that it will just get picked up by bots or no one will see it, which that's not good when part of your business is having to reach out to people. Again, I use Twitter for not only making posts about all my stuff, but also to reach out to game developers.
Yes.
Because it was the path of least resistance. A lot of developers, as we said, they don't have, press pages, they don't have press websites. They just have, a Steam page, a Steam forum, and like one or two social medias.
Right.
I mean, how many store pages have we reviewed so far? And we need to get back to it probably at some point. That they have like maybe just one social media and that's it.
Right. And that's what we're talking about, because we're talking about how much it takes. Either you have the money and you hire someone who can do it, or when you're an indie dev, it's best to concentrate on like one thing, which you can do at the minimum, instead of spreading yourself so thin, right? And then you end up with like one post on Reddit, one Twitter post, and like you've done, then that's it, right? And you've reached no one, so.
Mm-hmm. And as you said a few minutes ago, there's always that kind of like dark side pull that we've seen a lot of people, not just on Twitter, but on YouTube, Reddit, and so on, that they've kind of pushed into that. I've seen some like tweets from people who go viral with like some of like the most like inane, like almost like elementary like game dev tips, or like game dev I guess quote unquote wisdom.
Right.
And it's frustrating. Like they say something like you should aspire to like make a good level every day, or like it feels like eat, pray, love, chicken soup for the soul level game dev advice.
Right.
But because it's like posting, in such a nice and wholesome way, it gets lots and lots of traction. Mm-hmm. And the problem, like, for people like myself and for other people like in like the lower to middle tier, is that when your marketing is also your brand like that, you can't necessarily go dark side without it affecting everything else. As one of my little things, like with a lot of the library talks that I give, I have a very set price for what my standard fee is for when I do my library talks. And I use that same price whether I'm talking to a place that, let's say it's like in like an upper crust, upper class, part of a town, versus a lower class. And the reason why is I never wanted to be seen like, oh, I'm purposely making it higher because I'm talking to a place that has more money. Because I know, and again, like as anyone who does social media or reaches out, if you get caught doing something illicit, something bad, something illegal, your whole reputation is gone. Like, it is
exactly
done. And that is still something that is still very much true when it comes to social media. We've seen, my goodness, how many like people have like been like caught going on a wild tangent on like Twitter or any social media the last like 7 months.
I mean, countless. It's amazing, and I quite wonder. Like, I mean, we've actually had a podcast about one particular person and game, and it's quite fascinating to watch people completely destroy and burn down their careers so quick, right? Mm-hmm. With this thing. And it's really, I think they don't understand like the reach of it or the grasp of it that they have, right? And especially like we were talking about, if you're very high up there in the follower count, very high up in the totem pole, your stuff is going to be seen for sure. And, even if you like super delete it as quick as you can, someone already screenshotted it for sure, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yep. And again, it is very wild. I've unfollowed a few people. I'm sure everyone here has probably done that as well. When you see someone just like, wait, what did you just say?
Yeah, just out of the blue, you decided to post this.
Yeah, that's like the best part. It's like, oh, they were fine yesterday. Now they're just posting, all this. It's like, oh, well, that's just great.
Yeah, their eggs were not cooked right at all.
Mm-hmm. And it is, again, this very weird situation that we find ourselves in terms of being like in like the lower to mid tier. I mean, again, like for me on YouTube, yes, I have 10,000 subscribers now, but I'm still not really seeing, the path of, fame and fortune. Like the red carpet it could have gone stuck down the road, or maybe got washed away with the storm.
It's the storm and washed it away, Josh. That's what happened. Yeah, like that's an interesting point. Like nothing is, each social media is so disparate. So like, say you do have like 10K, it doesn't translate to Twitter followers. It doesn't translate to Instagram. Even though like we have organized our social media like the best we can as content creators, as authors, as game devs, for everything to point together, nothing really like transfers over. And it's so like, for almost like each one, you have to build up your own thing and understand the rules for each one. And that makes it really difficult. So anyway, sorry for cutting you off there.
No, and it is that kind of challenge. And again, it's one of those cases where I saw someone mention this. I think it was last night or sometime across this week, about one of the best roles that Twitter and social media has had. And it has been a blessing for introverted people, or someone who doesn't talk to a lot of people, you know, in public spaces. And one, you mentioned, of course, COVID a few minutes ago, and the whole like idea of doing remote work, remote socializing is such a big aspect of social media. I remember having a discussion with the CEO of Linden Labs. This was like about like a decade ago. We were talking about the appeal of something like Second Life. And again, this was like back in 2012, 2013, so this was long before a lot of what we know today really blew up in terms of social media. And he said, like, one of the things about Second Life was that someone who is a handicapped, someone who literally can't walk anymore, they can still socialize. They can go on to Second Life. And again, we can see this with how social media has grown over the past decade. That you don't need to worry about, oh, you know, I'm going to just be stuck inside forever. Again, like, we had that whole mentality, or the whole stereotype of, you know, the gamer who sits alone in their basement playing video games 12 hours a day. I mean, today, it's that case where I can have a chat with people literally around the world. I mean, right now, for people watching this live or recorded, I mean, how many people are tuning in, or people coming that we probably may never be in the same state or the same zip code. And it kind of breaks that stereotype. And for people like that, especially people who are introverted, who have other issues, this has been a very important tool for them.
Yeah, tremendously so. And like, to me, I'm going to look very fondly back on the like social media part of COVID, was because like it blew up so much, and like you could like literally talk to like a neurosurgeon, and then after that you could talk to a game developer, right? Like you could speak to anybody, and that was just like having the doors open, right? And it was this really nice community. And one of the really good things about Twitter before it got broken was actually like the hashtags and the discoverability, right? Like you could discover basically anything and find anything, and it was almost archived. And like me myself, I'm very guilty of this, which you were mentioning about having very little social media presence. I used my Twitter page as like just like a massive almost like resume for myself of like everything that's been done. And I know I'm not the only one that's done that, but that just because of the discoverability of it. I mean, maybe you've felt the same way about it, or
And hello, Marone in chat from Italy. So
right, there you go.
Yeah, and exactly, like, again, like, a lot of developers and just like smaller people in terms of these spaces, they use social media as their quasi portfolio. That I don't need to rent a website or do hosting on a website every month when I can just point to, you know, my Twitter of all my art that I posted.
Yes,
and again, this was before the whole AI issue came over, which seems to be getting either worse or better depending upon who you talk to. And that will probably be something very interesting by the end of this year. I feel like we're getting close to, like, something's going to break in that respect.
Yeah, we're really, really close to the apex. I'm hoping we can have an AI roundtable before then, so we can and maybe make some predictions and you know.
Yeah. And with, like, social media like this, it has really been this place. And excuse me, what you said a minute ago about being able to like talk to people like completely outside your spectrum. I remember like one late night, I had an entire conversation with the creator of Plock at like 5 o'clock in the morning. We were talking about like the music and the design of it at just like 5 o'clock in the morning one time.
Yeah, I mean, I had like the Echo the Dolphin creator. Like, I was talking to him. I joined his Discord. Like, when would I ever imagine meeting Echo the Dolphin's creator? Like, it was amazing. So, like, exactly, like those things were like some of the coolest things. I don't know if we'll ever be able to go back to it. I think we'll talk about the light at the end of the tunnel soon.
I hope.
But I do hope so. But yeah, that was just the coolest thing. And it was such, going back to the, like, I believe what was like the golden era of like the introvert networking on like Twitter and stuff like that. I met so many people and met so many developers, and it was just, again, through the amazing discoverability of Twitter and just the open nature of it. Right. It was like, it's so easy to speak to someone. Everyone's DMs are open. Usually, and you could just message someone if you wanted to talk, or hey, let's collaborate or do something. And it was so easy to do that, and that's like one of the most positive aspects of social media. Of course, there's tons of dark sides to it, which are bringing about its dark fall. Of course, dark fall.
Yeah, and
downfall.
Yeah, there. And to that point, again, like the advantage that Twitter had, and it's something that we've had this discussion before about how studios become too big to fail. That when you reach that kind of, that certain level of pop culture acceptance, you become almost unbreakable in terms of your hold on the market. We have seen this with, again, Nintendo, Valve, Blizzard for the better part of, what, like 25 years, BioWare for about the same time. And what ends up happening in these cases is that the fire has to come from inside, or the calls to come from inside the house, essentially, when there's a problem. And it's kind of what we saw with Twitter, that Twitter, for the longest time, has been the number one kind of social media platform. But when, again, Elon Musk took over, and just, again, like, there's probably going to be so many essays about how not to run a business thanks to his decisions, that he basically did what we saw Blizzard do in the 2010s to today. What we saw other major studios, that they just have a series of bad decisions after bad decisions. And as we said earlier, when it comes to social media, your name is your livelihood. If you betray the trust of people, if you lie to them, if you do anything that destroys your brand image, that's gone. Like, that is not something you can get back. And like we said, with a lot of people just really stepping in it over like the last year, like, so many people have like completely destroyed their reputations. And I guess here's a point that I want to ask you about, because I think we may be in like the similar kind of like social media, I guess, like expertise side of things, that a lot of people view social media as either being the most important thing you've ever seen or the least important thing. Like, you know, there's this whole discussion about kind of online life and real life. And while it's easy to joke that, you know, if someone makes a fool of themselves online or goes on this like nasty tirade, who cares? Because it's just online. But as we have seen, like, the world itself has gone digital.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, like, what do you think about like this idea that there's some people who feel like, who cares if Twitter goes, or who cares if Reddit goes down, or if we all go to 27 different social medias, or we never use social media again? I feel like for me that it's just such a, like, can't see the forest for the trees approach. But what do you think about it?
I gotta bounce this back to you though. Like, I really want to know, like, what you feel about like the importance of social media, like, in a good in a good form, right? Like in a perfect world.
I think to me, it kind of is that way for people to connect to people who they would never have the real world opportunity to do it. one of the things that I really wanted to see more, I'm still kind of pissed that they kind of went away, was the idea of having digital and virtual conferences.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
for me, with my bad leg, and again, I'm not traveling that much with COVID still in the air right now, I don't want to go halfway across the country, not only with, COVID, but flying, cars, all the expenses. Why can't I just do something virtual? Why can't I talk to developers and interview them through Discord? Which, again, I've been doing that quite regularly. And even Discord has been having some issues in terms of their brand image, with their, like, kind of trying to do more with AI stuff. And
Indeed.
And it is that kind of issue where the people who need it the least are probably, like, the most important on the platform, while the people who need it the most are just kind of, like, thrown to the side.
It is quite hilarious, right? You see like celebrities and people again who don't need it at all, right? Are like at like undestructible companies tweeting like the most, and they don't need it at all. But we do, and I'm on the same camp with you that social media, like in a perfect world, and is probably one of the most important things, like for allowing game devs and like creators and all of us to connect together. Because like you said, I myself also have like physical issues. I myself cannot also afford like rental cars, trips to every convention that I need to go to, when simply like I could give my talk here. I could send the demo there, right? Like there's no reason, literally there's no reason to do the things when we have gone so online. Like, and I don't, you mentioned a point about like, I don't believe there is like really a separation between our offline and our online identity. I believe that anonymity has been removed a long time ago during AOL chat. Like we're long past that. So basically now what you say and do online is equivalent to what you would say and do in person. Maybe you're just not saying it to someone's face, or you're doing it behind the keyboard, but it is what you are saying. And also you are 100% aware that what you are saying is going to get more attention and more views than you simply saying it, I don't know, in your room by yourself with no one hearing, right? So you were literally shouting to the world these strange, weird things, or these rants. And so, yeah, 100% you were fully responsible for that in a way. And now back to the social media, how it should be and how it should work. Yeah, I think it's like 100% integral. We eventually we're going to go, I don't know where we will end up like with Twitter, or where we will end up with Reddit, or what social media space we will be using. But I think eventually gamers and developers and creators are very smart. And I think we will find a way to create a platform or harness a platform that will work for our needs, and also like not be predatory and like a slot content machine, but really like a networking site, right? Like social media has basically become like ads with comments in it, right? And that is like the dark side. I don't want to get into it yet, but like that really turns people off. And like having to deal with that, if we could deal with like a purely not something that's used to collect our data, not something that's used to market things to us with AI generated feed that it thinks we want to see, more like community driven discoverability, things that are based on your likes, and things that are more humane, like a more humane social media, if you would. But yeah, like just to sum it up, it's 100% needed for what we do. And I mean, I'm all for it. We just need to find a way to fix it and perfect it.
So does this mean we're all going back to LinkedIn? Because I really don't want to go back to LinkedIn. Yeah.
Have you been to LinkedIn lately? Have you actually gone and seen
I kind of like check my notifications like once every like week or two, and that's about it.
Yeah. I go in there, and the posts are almost like an acid mind trip dream. Like some of the posts on there, I don't understand. It's like it's also like fallen to the wayside. So hopefully we're not going back to LinkedIn, Josh.
And I want to touch on a point you just said about anonymity, because I think that is perhaps, I think, one of the biggest changes that social media has done to like how we communicate over the past 10 years. Again, like for us oldies who remember, again, like AOL Instant Messenger, I remember that as well. Like again, like early chat in the 90s, it was all about being someone else online.
Yes.
This idea that your real life and your online life are these two separate entities. But one of the major fundamental shifts of how social media has grown is that that's not the case anymore. Today, if you want to use social media, it is you online. As we've said, like, for people who have any kind of public facing or kind of public work, your online life is your real life. If you tell someone online from your account to go F yourself or say all kinds of stuff, guess what? That's you telling someone to go F themselves in real life, because that is how things are. And it's that kind of weird situation where we have a lot of people, I think, still think about online as being, you can hide your real self, or you don't have to be that way. But for a lot of people who use social media these days, how they are online is very much how they are in person. And like one of like the strangest things that's happened with like COVID and everything else, like a few like family friends, like we've had to like completely unfollow from Facebook and all that, because they just started posting the most like inane, crazy things. And it's that case again of, if this is how they're talking, just like out loud, then what's it going to be like to be with them, in person?
Exactly. Yeah. And then it literally the same thing in our household also. Like, I'm not a Facebook user, but the wife who is, and yeah, had to unfollow family members and friends just because of the content they post, because again, it is representative, it is representative of that person, like 100%. There is no like, haha, I'm posting this funny, horribly inane meme, but it doesn't represent me. You know what I mean? Like whatever you're posting is like what you want people to know about yourself and what you're trying to say. That's literally like one of the purposes of like social media and sharing a post. Like, this is my ideas, these are my thoughts. I want to share them with you. What do you think of them?
Yeah. And again, like for game developers, it is very important to have that public face of your game. Where again, if you can't do it, you hire someone to be able to do it yourself or do it for you, because this is how you grow your brand. Again, like how many times have we had discussions about the importance of getting your name out there, about posting something cool that you did, or have a crazy GIF, or even like there are a few developers I know who have really taken to TikTok, that they'll make some wacky, crazy 30 to 45 second long video, and it works really well for them. But then, as you said a few minutes ago, as we all know, you try that thing on any other social media platform and people will just kind of laugh you off of it.
Right. Yeah. Everybody is too savvy, right, about all the different networks, so they can definitely tell when you're creepy pasting and everything. So yeah, it doesn't do that. You have to, and that's just another thing, right? Like I think I was looking up new social media startups. There's Threads, there's Be Real, there's like a whole bunch of other ones. So like, as a side note, unfortunately, like social media will not be going away, right? That is not going to happen. Like, so as game developers, we're going to have, and content creators, we're going to have to stay aware of like, and unfortunately, like maybe try and learn the new like social media app, see how it works, see if it works for you. It might be like the new Twitter for you or the new Reddit for you. It might be something that you enjoy or but we do have to keep open-minded and keep trying each one to see which works for you and your game.
Yeah, but like, the unfortunate nature of this is that no one is going to be as big as Twitter, at least not in the next year or two. I think what we're talking about now in terms of the silver lining or who will become the next big one, this is not going to be a quick process. I think this will take at least, I'm thinking probably at least until the end of this decade. I think, safely speaking, in terms of someone trying to become the new Twitter, take that mantle. Because one of the things you mentioned, of course, there's now 3 or 4. I put 5 different logos up on this thumbnail.
I couldn't recognize one of them. I was like, what is that one?
It's probably a new one that just popped up in the last day or two. And the problem with this is that as we get more and more platforms, no one was really it's very surprising that no one, I think, was really expecting Twitter to go down. I think not even myself. I was saying, well, as long as he just keeps it average, who the hell cares? And again, we could go into we could turn this into an Elon Musk rant video very easily.
Next week.
There we go. Perfect. But it's that case of it went downhill so fast that no one has really been able to capitalize on it. So, I tried co-host and it just felt a little, weird to get into. It was a pain to sign up. Mastodon is just, the whole, shard idea. I know, for me, that's, a instant fail for me. I cannot do something what I do. We're about which shard and instances and all that.
Yeah, right. And MMO based
oh god
social media. No, I literally okay, I was I'm gonna look into Mastodon. I think we were talking about social media sites, or you were talking about getting on Mastodon, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go look up a tutorial, read about it, and after reading about it, I knew less about it, and I understood even less about it. I was like, you know what, this is not gonna work. The decentralized nature, it totally, what Twitter, what it shines at is not what Mastodon seems to do well. It seems to maybe curate to maybe a different form of Discord type of thing, individual shards and niches and stuff like that. But again, for discoverability, each shard can't talk to each shard, and so you're really stuck. That talk about an echo chamber, right?
Yeah. And then Threads just came out, and
yeah,
I only using Facebook to begin with, so a Facebook adjacent social media just seems I really don't want to do that. And then of course there's Blue Sky.
Yeah, and waiting on my invite.
Me too, and that's the other problem right there. A lot of these I know I'm thinking there's at least 2 or 3 other ones that I'm forgetting that literally popped up within a week, and then within 3 days later, everyone was like, "No, we're not doing this. Go to the next one." And this is, I think, another problem for people in our respective spaces. For someone like me, I'm that kind of guy that once I'm on a social media or one of these platforms, I kind of plant my flag down and I'm not moving kind of deal. So, I don't really want 15 different social media platforms. We talk about how consumers don't want, 5 different digital clients. How much of a pain is it to tell someone who's on Steam to install, EGS or Games Pass or Origin, Uplay, and so on. So imagine telling someone, oh yeah, you can follow me on this, and this, and this. Just create 6 different accounts. It's all fine.
Right. I mean, so having so many different ones pop up, and I think that's why I'm right about that Twitter's going to last for a while, because most people are going to say, okay, how much longer can we ride this out? And just the ability of what this social platform could do compared to others, and the disparity of having so many different ones, right? That's just a realm most people don't want to deal with. Again, oh my gosh, if I had to like go on my phone and check, I don't know, 2 different or 3, like checking Discord and Twitter, that's enough for me, right? I'm like, okay, I'm cool. Like, I don't want to check Threads, Be Real, Insta, TikTok, and everything just to make sure everything's up to date, right? That's a lot. That's a lifer game right there.
Mm-hmm. And I think to the point of kind of the role social media is, like, this is kind of like that common issue that we've seen when it comes to like the whole business side of things. And this is this topic is definitely way too big to get into in full for this episode. But it's something that I talked about a lot when it comes to the mobile and live service markets. That there are some people who feel the desire to get all the money. That if their game isn't pulling in at least 600 million, annually, then it's just an automatic failure. And one of the easiest ways, and again, like, this is a really good relation to social media, to sync your brand and your property is to try and gouge everyone. This is something that Discord has ran into quite a bit, with them trying to sell data, with them trying to push, AI. People who do, like, when we talk about like the common people who use social media, they just want it to work. They don't want you to be selling their data. They don't want to be using this to generate AI stuff or, do their stock trends for them. They just want to talk to people, make sure the program doesn't blow up their computer, and that's about it. Like, they just want it to work. But again, here's like that kind of catch-22 from the business standpoint. There's always going to be a ceiling in terms of like what these platforms can do. And a lot of people who like focus on business above all else, they don't like that. They don't want to be told that something can maybe only make $300,000 a year. And that's it. Like, it will never go above that number because they keep wanting more and more money. And again, like, that's kind of what we saw with Twitter and like Elon Musk's explosion or implosion of trying to monetize every single thing out of something that's not supposed to be monetized every single way out. And
exactly,
I think someone posted this. I think it's a really good like explanation with the whole kind of like blue check mark fiasco. That someone said that if you were to tell me like there is a vastly improved version of Twitter, like up and above what we have now for $8 a month, a lot of people probably would have done that. Like, if you could guarantee some fantastic features with Twitter's credibility at the time, people would have spent $8 a month easily on that. But when you force it, when you remove features to try and make something else better, and like, here's like the point, as we said, like, one of the benefits of social media, I guess the double-edged sword, is that it has made people very online literate. Like, people who are online, you can't fool them the same way as like a lot of people who just only watch TV or don't do this kind of stuff on a day-to-day basis. So when they see you taking stuff out, people hear about. I mean, every one of his changes has happened. There have been thousands of tweets letting everyone know that, hey, Elon Musk is taking away this. He's trying to charge you for this now. And it completely devalues it. And again, this is kind of like that point that, and again, like, social media and live servers are kind of one the same in this approach, that you can't force someone to spend money. You can't make things worse and then turn around and say, well, I'll make it better. You give me $5 a month.
Right.
It worked 15 years ago. It worked during kind of like the age of fun pain and trying to really capture the gambling industry's focus here on when it comes to mobile games. But what we've learned is that people don't respond to that anymore. Again, how many people these days would, outside of being like fanatic fans of Elon Musk, are going to happily give $8 a month with all the stigma that comes with it, with all the issues and baggage that comes with that?
Yeah, like literally zero. And like you said, like it's it's oh my gosh, like where it stands right now, like Twitter, like before, like I don't know, what do you say, like 7 years, 8 years, it was such a big part of our lives. And if you said, okay, we're gonna just like kind of like remove the ads now, and also like any data privacy, ad collection, we're gonna take that out. But to do that, you're going to need to pay like, I don't know, $4 a month or whatever, $8 a month. Most people, because of, would have done that, right? But instead, we want to like walk in with a kitchen sink and say, let that sink in, and charge API access, remove, like destroy blue check mark, like all the validity that Twitter had. Because honestly, Twitter like had a lot of validity. Like if someone had a blue check mark, or like that meant a ton, right? Like, oh my God, back in the day, what a check mark, right?
I've never gotten one. Like, I think I need to send more blood and DNA samples to prove who I was online.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm missing samples. I need to send those.
Yeah, and again, it's that case of the validity of the brand in any kind of online space is probably more valuable than gold. When you can prove to someone that you are reputable, that you are who you say you are, like this is like words coming straight from the horse's mouth, that is free advertising. Again, like so many people have talked about kind of the role of like doctors and such on Twitter, that during COVID, you could see a blue check that you knew was from an actual, virologist or an actual doctor who knew what they were saying. Now, who knows?
Yeah, who knows now?
And again,
I was like, oh wow, an astronaut is telling me something, and then just anything, a surgeon, or just so you knew 100% that they were verified. So just that validity. Sorry to cut you off there. Yeah.
And, like, it goes back to something that I know I spoke with another Josh about a long time ago. We were talking about kind of, like, I guess the gravitas of being, like, an influencer and stuff on real life. And why, real life and influencer life are kind of kept separate. Is that it's very easy to set up a YouTube channel. It's very easy to set up a TikTok or an Instagram. That doesn't give you credibility. If you can get, again, like 10,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, if you do something like that, and you can prove that people that you are trustworthy, that builds recognition. It's the same thing about being on radio or being able to go onto a major network and talk about something. It's, again, the same thing that we kind of saw fall out with Steam, with the rise of Steam Direct. That, again, 15 years ago, being on Steam, that's it. You've succeeded. If you can get your game on Steam in circa 2010, 2011,
you did it.
Okay, you're done. Like, there's your game dev career. You have succeeded.
Yeah, go collect your yacht now.
Exactly. It does not work that way anymore. And again, the reason why is something very simple. They made it a price tag. Right. And if you can just pay for verification, if you can just pay to get your game on Steam, how does that make yourself different or more recognizable than all the other 100,000s and millions of people who are doing the same thing?
Right. Yeah, basically making it like almost pay to win in a way.
Oh, good. Does that mean that we're going to get gotcha banners in real life now?
Yeah. Yep, they're coming. Yeah, you're gonna have to put on the Apple visor, and then we'll have the gotcha banners there.
And again, like some of like the better mobile games that we've played and we've seen, or even just better live service, they again know that it's not about making $50 million a month on their game. They want to make a game that can at least keep the lights on. They know what they can monetize and what they can't monetize. And that, I think, is a very important fact about when we relate this to social media these days. That, again, there are ceilings to how much money a good social media platform can make. It's never a case of, well, it earned $200 million this year, so, in a year from now, we can make $600 million off of it. it doesn't work like that. And again, going back to the point about them removing features, I just heard they're taking away a tweet deck. And it's going to now be you have to pay for it on top of everything else.
Wow.
And again, like, this is the point about good social media. At the end of the day, the base model has to be fantastic. It has to work. It has to give you everything that you need. Because if it's not giving you that, turning around and saying, well, if you give us $10 a month, we'll fix all these issues. Who in their right mind would pay for that?
And even then, like, I wouldn't even trust paying for it and not expecting like changes afterward, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's all been destroyed. Like, each change was day after day after day, another one, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna pay 10, and then it's instantly gonna stabilize and be old Twitter. I don't believe that. So,
and again, it's that issue of brand trust. Once you betray that trust, your credibility goes out the window, and it is not coming back. Again, like, right now, the only thing that would make Twitter kind of, like, the all clear sign would fly up is we hear that, like, Elon Musk gets, like, booted out, like, via, like, trebuchet, like in the Simpsons episode.
Right.
That would basically fix it. That would do a lot right there. But again, that's not really going to be happening unless maybe if we all think it really hard enough, that could happen.
We will. Yeah, we would think it really hard. Yeah, welcome, foreign user.
Yep.
There you go.
And as we've been seeing with all these social medias like popping up, and again, it's a situation where even though we all saw this coming, I think no one really saw it coming in terms of what happens when the #1 social media platform completely collapses in on itself. And then what do we do from here? And again, like, this is where we kind of get more into the doom and gloom territory. Like, I feel like for like the next year or two, like, for people like us, like in the smaller to mid space,
it
is going to be horrible. It is absolutely going to be a pain.
Definitely. I'm not sure, like, earlier you mentioned that you believe that maybe people wouldn't leave Twitter. You don't think that overnight people might not just like abandon the platform and just possibly go to another one to see? You don't think that that's possible? Like another one just... But then again, like you were saying, now the competitors are trying to like build it, which overnight, right? And it's not really possible. Like, you have like, okay, a layout or design document, but all the infrastructure and getting everything right and getting it all together can happen overnight. Twitter became what it was through like seasoning and iteration and stuff like that to eventually become what it was, right? And so for something else, yes, we're talking social media, Pony. And for something else just to come out, you don't think that people might just leave just because, you know what, I've had it with Twitter, I've had it with Facebook, I'm just going to go to another one. This one seems kind of just fine. You don't think that's possible? Or do you think that it's just going to have a long tail just because, like you said, you staked your flag in there? And me personally, too, like, I don't want Twitter to leave. Like, I want it to go back to where it was. And I've invested so much in it, right, myself personally. Like, and, you know, do you feel that same way?
Yeah, like, I think, like, there are a lot of people who have just left Twitter and they're not going to come back. And it is a very frustrating aspect of it because, again, part of the advantages of social media and part of, like, its role in this respective space is the whole kind of collective, like, band of brothers and sisters. Yeah. That has been one of the most important aspects of being an indie dev. This idea that, you know, your friend is, you know, people that you know is only a few clicks away, that you can contact people, you can organize very easily this way.
Yeah.
And that has gone away. And the problem is, like, with everyone popping up like this, it's not going to come back just because there's 5 more competitors on the scene.
Right.
I don't want, again, like, for a lot of people, we don't want to be, well, I have 50 friends over here, and now I have to go over here, here's another 30 friends, let me post over here for another 45. Like, at most, I would say, like, 2, I think, is the limit for a lot of people. Again, like, we're not talking about people who are always online. We're not talking about, like, the higher, influencer side of things, who can be on, like, 7 different platforms at once, and they'll post 7 different kinds of posts there.
Yeah, definitely. But I think even when you reach that level, right, like, you probably have some additional help.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. What we got in chat?
Let's see. To Marone's comment about something like an email newsletter, I think the problem with that for, like, people who do, like, marketing and social media is that it's still getting people to sign on. This is, again, like, the role that social media plays for people who do stuff online, is that you use that space as your loudspeaker. It's easier to post something on a major site like Facebook, Twitter, and so on, rather than hoping someone will come to your site and then click on your newsletter.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, like, I don't know how effective email newsletters are. Like, honestly, I'd probably have to admit that I've clicked on less than I would like to admit, just because there's so many, right? And some game devs decide to, like, maybe abuse their email newsletters a little bit. And so I don't know how effective they are, Josh. Like, do you find it effective?
Yeah, I never really used like newsletters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it works if you're big enough for it. But again, it's that kind of issue that the solutions for someone who already has like 5 million followers is not going to be the same thing for someone who has like 100.
Yeah, I mean, like, whenever I had, like, my email newsletter sign up, again, like, it's just not a lot of traction from that either, because again, it requires people to go to, like, your website, go to sign up. It's just a few more different clicks than, like, for example, like you said, like a post.
Mm-hmm. And again, as we saying, the problem with all this is that it's going to take a lot of time. And again, there's always that risk that whoever becomes the next big one doesn't do the same exact thing 4 to 5 years down the road. And it's kind of, and like, to equate this or bring this to kind of like YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that, like, people have been dreaming of there being a legitimate competitor to Twitch and YouTube. Like, there are a lot of people who are sick and tired of both those platforms, and right now this channel just got taken down with that sentence. So hopefully we're still online.
That is hilarious. Yeah, I know. There's like a bunch, like, there's or Numble, and like there's a bunch of other Vimeo, like there's a bunch of other, like, video streaming, but for some reason YouTube is just a massive juggernaut, right? And no matter what, it's like not going anywhere. And like, and I know people want, because YouTube has issues, very black boxy issues with the algorithm, right? Which I know you could attest to issues with, right? Because, like, you basically have to, like, follow the trends of the, just create clickbait, or basically, follow the algorithm god if you want to do that. And instead of, like, maybe posting, like, well curated, excellent content that is not going for, like, clickbait, right? And so that's an issue, and it's pervasive with, like, with all social media, right? It's like, is like, which way do you take, right? Because and even like, and then I know, and like lower end, like lower tier, like people that don't have a lot of followers and stuff like that could even try clickbait and stuff like that, but it still be drowned out just by the mere saturation of it all.
And I think to that point about, as you're saying, with like echo chambers, it's very much that issue that we see, like, to somehow equate this to game dev, because again, we can relate everything to game dev, I think, within
Yes.
lines here. That it's the issue that we see with a lot of developers who are only on itch, who only like deal with like that small segment, and then going to like outside that echo chamber. That just because something worked one way on this platform does not mean it's working anywhere near the same way as another and another. And it's why, again, that a lot of people don't like social media. How many, like, again, like, for this audience in particular, like, I don't think we're all, like, super viral internet celebrities. I know I'm certainly not.
I would like everybody in chat, like, what's your feelings on social media? Love it or don't love it? I mean,
how many here have like 10 million followers right now?
Right. Who has 10 million followers? Who's TikTok? Should we follow? I mean, yeah, that's true. It's quite a double-edged sword when it comes to it. Like, I believe, like, I don't want to speak to both of us, but I feel like both of us adopted it because it was just kind of a necessity, right? Like, it was a way, like, we may not be like, oh my gosh, I love social media so much, but we know the benefits of it and how to use it properly, and that we did need to use it in order to reach larger in order to reach larger audiences, right? So,
yep. And again, it's that difference between viewing it as a necessity versus like viewing it as what, you know, our actual life.
Yes.
I think right now I need to like say something like completely controversial. Maybe that will get me like 100,000 subscribers easily.
Do it, Josh.
There we go. And it is, again, like, we're in this very weird position. Because, like, to put this, like, in another term for, like, people watching, like, what we're seeing right now with Twitter going down, it would be like if, you know, Steam decided to just, like, completely destroy itself from the inside. Like, imagine if Steam stopped working. Like, so much of the game industry would fall apart because of that.
Yeah, I was literally, that was like my next thought when I was thinking about this podcast, and I was like, okay, Twitter goes down, okay, but there's Steam, but what if Steam goes down? And then, oh no, what if itch goes down? And I was thinking, like, how dependent that, like, me personally have become on, like, you know, expecting them to be bastions and just last and not really change, and naively forgetting that eventually will come to grind its wheel upon the things that we are so.
Close the valve, yes.
Close the valve.
And again, like we've said, like, we're in this age where stuff like YouTube, like Twitter, like Steam, people were literally raised on it. Like, they've been around, like, at the same time that they grew up with it. Like, it's too big for them to understand what life would be like without it. And it is a very awkward situation I think a lot of us are in. Like, again, like, a lot of people watching this right now, I think they could care less if Twitter dies, if Threads lives, if Mastodon becomes the new Twitter, if Twitter becomes the new Twitter. Like, it doesn't really matter to them. And for, like, that particular market, it's, again, like, as we were saying earlier, it's this idea of, like, real life and online life. But for people who make their living virtually, like, this is probably one of the worst things to happen to them from a business perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Mariano doesn't care. But yeah, I mean, like you said, this is while it is so difficult and maybe not like within our realm, a lot of game devs or maybe stuff like that. Again, it is so valuable for allow us to get our reach out. I can wake up in the morning and see a tweet that you did on my phone, right? Or I can see like those things, those abilities to connect us is just so invaluable for us. It's like, hey, I have some new content out, want to check it out, or hey, I'm doing this. You know, when you are a content provider, it is very valuable for us. If you are simply just a purveyor of it and you just, scroll through and you said, oh my gosh, I could care less. It probably doesn't affect you at all, right? But for this is quite a massive change. And I mean, since the takeover, me myself, I have been like wondering, like, wow, what are we going to use? What can we use? Like, are old methods still going to even work? You know what I mean? Like we were just talking about, no one wants to go. Like, does anyone really want to go to 3, or does anyone want to go to game demo convention or anything? I don't think so. I think more people would be akin to like, let me play on the next fest. Let me play on the next fest and download all the demos and play it that way, right? And watch him stream and watch him like that. Why would I want to travel and do all that stuff? But again, like with social media in the perfect world allows us to announce it to a massive audience and tell everybody what we're doing. So it's so very, very important. And again, it being affected this way, like, I mean, like, they're pricing like API calls, right? Like which is like useful for if we're needing to like do research like on how well stuff is doing for our game or marketing campaign. Reddit also like they're charging API, so if you're doing like, you need to do the same queries about anything of how your marketing is doing or whatever, you're being charged that as well. So there's just so many changes that make it difficult for us in that regard, right?
Mm-hmm. And like we said, like for companies, for people who are trying to like make a living this way, like we can't really go back to the age of everyone having their own separate website.
Yeah,
because like there are people, I know a lot of like younger or like new indie devs who say, who cares about Steam? Who cares about Twitter? But again, like people who have been around long enough know that the age of just telling someone, yeah, if you want my game, just go find my website out here, go click on 7 links, it's, the 5th link down, then I need to ask for your social, and then give me your credit card number, and then you will get the game in like 2 to 3 days. We're never going back to that period. Yeah. And again, the advantage of social media and to these centralized sources has been a way of what's the word I'm thinking of, commoditizing or compartmentalizing all these games together, like, or all the social media that I don't need. Again, like, I don't need to go to 7 different social media platforms. I pick the one that has everyone on it, and I get my information that way. Just like I don't need 27 digital clients. I use Steam, I have EGS, and I have a few others, and that's about it. But again, like, I'm definitely the exception to that point. For most people, it's Steam, and that's all they need.
Yeah, maybe itch, right?
Yeah. And again, the point is that it's because Valve has earned that level of trust. They have hit that point where they are the perfect brand when it comes to a digital platform for games. Again, love, hate them, or everywhere in between, you cannot deny the impact Steam has had.
Yeah, well said.
So as a time check, I know we are, looks like just about over an hour in. So I think we can begin to wrap things up. Are there any other points that we haven't touched on?
Let me see. Where are my notes? Where did I put my notes? I think we covered everything. I mean, maybe like the future, like what do you think the light at the end of the tunnel might be? I was like you said, we can't really go back, right? And then I was like, I don't know, just like researching around and like asking, and a lot of things I got were like, yeah, start a Discord. Like, so if you just like went on YouTube and it went like social media is dead, everything said, you'd watch the video and it said join my Discord. But the problem with Discord is it's not really discoverable, right? There's no discoverability, and it's just kind of like a chat room, and it's like that. So like, concerning the future of it, what do you see happening? Do you think it's just eventually going to stabilize? I mean, like you said, it's not going away. We can't go back. Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? If it is dying, I don't think it dying would be a light at the end of the tunnel.
I don't know. I think for right now, the answer is no. It's still, as my little weather alert is telling me, it's still mostly cloudy. And it's still mostly cloudy outside right now.
High pollen count.
And then death mist coming in.
Death mist, yes.
We're not quite at death mist level of social media, but I think we're along that route. And I think my prediction earlier, I didn't want to still stick to that the solution to this is not going to be happening within the next year or two.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to take, again, I think like 5 to 10 years for someone else to build up that brand recognition. Again, it's one of the reasons why, like we were saying earlier, why like YouTube and Twitch aren't going anywhere. YouTube's been around since like it was like mid 2000s. When again, it was just this little weird site where you post videos. And it took a long time for them to hit that point of pop culture like success. Again, same thing with the game industry. It took what, like 30 years, give or take. Like it wasn't until like the mid 2000s that video games became a very accepted form of entertainment. Like stuff like this, and again, it's why we are so like focused on like major companies and major brands kind of going under, is that when you hit that point, you become too big to fail, and then you fail, it leaves like a massive hole in the market. 2005. Damn, like I can tell you, I didn't even look at YouTube until maybe 2014, 2015.
Right, like maybe, golly, maybe I might have looked at it like in 2007. Like, wow, this site looks really.
Yeah, and again, like we talk about Steam. Steam in 2004, again, who was predicting that Steam will become the juggernaut in 2004? We were all forced to install it to play Half-Life 2.
I was like, my friend was like, yeah, dude, you got to download Steam. And I was like, no, man. I remember downloading it and hoping, please don't be like the only solution. But then it ended up really working. But I guess back then, right? You know?
Yep. And again, it takes a lot of time, and that is not something that just happens right away. Like, to Maroon's comment there, that, yeah, like, being the first to do something, as we've said, when it comes to game dev, is such a huge push to that cloud. It's why there's such high risk, high reward. When you're the one who, you know, popularizes an roguelike like FTL, or you're the first deck-building roguelike to blow up, like Slay the Spire, or, I don't know, that little game called Fortnite, that showed everyone what a real good Battle Royale game was mainstream, that kind of cloud never goes away. No one can ever take away from, again, Mega Crit Games, that Slay the Spire, you know, was just this little game. Or that Darkest Dungeon, you know, wasn't really that popular. When it gets to that point, as we've said, it's now on the brand side to fail. And like we said, we've seen this with stuff like Activision Blizzard. Kind of like where BioWare is going. Like, as a very funny, weird point about all this, like, people are excited about Baldur's Gate 3 that's coming from, I think, Larian Studios. Like, imagine telling a RPG fan 15 years ago that BioWare would become the lesser studio and someone else would make the new Baldur's Gate. They would probably, like, run at you with pitchforks and torches.
Right.
Oh, nice, Foreign. Wait, does that mean that you can make me go viral on
Yes,
YouTube?
he's about to go viral now.
There we go.
Thank you, foreign user.
So, I guess for you, like, what are your thoughts? Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, I don't I don't see a way that it won't. Like it can't get better. I mean, maybe I'm just being naive and I'm about how capitalism kind of comes for everything. But I believe that they're just that social media is just such an integral part of our lives. And I'm not saying like TikTok is like an important part of our lives, but like something like Twitter and how we used it as like content creators and stuff like that. I believe that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I wish I had a and I could say, okay, what's coming up ahead and what's going to happen. But like you said, most likely it's going to be stability, and people aren't just going to instantly flock off of something. So I believe there's a light in the tunnel. I just wish I knew what it was, just because this is so important for us as content creators. But yeah, man, definitely for sure. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think that there is always going to be like a death and life cycle to all things, and what was old is new again. And I think eventually we'll reach a good like operating stasis of like social media, hopefully.
We shall see. And maybe we'll get our Blue Sky invites and we can rant about that by the next show. But yeah, it's definitely like a weird time for game developers. And again, like I do feel for like all the smaller to mid-tier people who, again, they're trying to make a living on social media when social media is just constantly like sinking and exploding and imploding all around them.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think with that lowly sense, I think that's my final point. Like anything from you before we wrap things up?
No, I think that basically covers it. Unless we want to, I think that's pretty good.
All right. So I think with that, we'll wrap things up for this week. We don't know what our title will be for next week. So again, if you have any suggestions, let us know in the comments down below.
Definitely.
Go ahead, Josh. I was going to say, and of course, like again, like speaking about social media, do all the YouTubing algorithmic stuff, feed the algorithm, please it, and all that, and hopefully that will help this channel get to 5 million subscribers by next week.
Yes, as Josh said, the algorithm is very, very hungry. Feed, like, subscribe. If you have any ideas, join the Discord, buy Josh's books. All my links are down below. Wishlist, Rooster Rampage. It's getting into a nice little forum coming up soon. Other than that, Josh?
I think with that, we'll be back next Saturday around 5 p.m. ET for the next Key to Games podcast. Hope everyone enjoys their weekend, whether you are having a nice sunny weather, mostly cloudy, death mists, and everything else in between. So, Josh, it was a pleasure hanging out with you as always, and I'm sure we'll have another great conversation next time.
That's right. Thank you very much.
All right, so with that said, everyone, come back for discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Have, again, a great rest of your weekend, and see you next time.